What's up? What's up? What's up, beautiful people? Hello, how are you doing on this beautiful Wednesday? As you all know, I'm going to allow those first couple of minutes for you to get in, but I am super excited to have yet another Wellness Wednesday with you guys. I have an exciting guest for today. And as we know, in October, we celebrate Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I have my Stay Ready to Fight sweatshirt on. So definitely make sure you guys are, rocking that breast cancer awareness attire this month. And honestly, seeking knowledge, and I'm excited about today because we're going to be seeking some knowledge about that same topic. But seeking knowledge during this month, and not just this month, but forever and ever. But use the opportunity to get involved. And I also want to, again, because we are talking about breast cancer awareness at this moment, I want to also send a lots of love and prayers to anyone who has been diagnosed with breast cancer, who are survivors of breast cancer, and those who have lost individuals and family members or friends due to breast cancer. So definitely want to send lots of love and prayers your way. But again, come on in the room. I'm going to allow like 30 more seconds and we're going to hop right into it. And I'm all about my affirmations. I'm all about my positivity. So while you are coming in and while you are waiting for us to get started, go ahead and drop some affirmations in the chat. Go ahead and put some good affirmations of how you feeling today, or even some accomplishments. I want us to start this live off with some positivity. And also, guys, I'm a little hot. So if y'all see me pull out my little fan, just charge it to the game. I am hot today, so I don't go nowhere without this thing. So it might come on in just a second. But I think we're good to go. So excited. I'm gonna let my guest introduce herself. Yes, but who do we have here today on this great Wednesday?
Good morning. I am Dr. Andrea Nicole Cole. I am the medical director of a breast care center called Piedmont Columbus Breast Care Center. It is in Columbus, Georgia, which is about an hour south of the Atlanta airport. And I've been doing this for about 12 years. My mother and my grandmother have a history of breast cancer. My mother is now a 25-year survivor. So this is my passion, my life's work. So I'm happy to be here.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And also, before we jump into today's questions, give a little bit of background about your E2M journey. How long have you been a member? Some accomplishments you want to share? Let the people know.
I'm definitely an OG. Been around for quite some time. I joined the program in March of 2021. So I'm on the round infinity, 20 plus rounds at this point. I started in March of 2021, probably at about maybe 220 pounds, something like that. So I've lost a total of 75. Some of that I lost before starting. So I probably lost about 40 pounds on E2M. I would say that the things I took away the most with E2M thus far is the intermittent fasting has been great with my weight loss. I'd say the accountability has been great because I'm a 5 a.m. workout person. So catching Wits Lives on Mondays helped. And then also having other people awake that early in the morning actually helped motivate me. And then lastly, the weight training was very critical. So I was always what I call a hamster wheel cardio person. So I'd be on my treadmill, I'd be on my bike and exercise for 45 minutes to an hour, and it would do absolutely nothing. And I never really incorporated weights. So the weight portion became critical in my weight loss. So the weights actually made a big difference.
I love that. I love that. So thank you again for first being here on this great Wednesday. I was super excited to see. I was like, you know what? I see your face and your pictures all the time. But when I made that post about, people being interested in Wellness Wednesday and you were just giving your background, I'm like, dang, I didn't know you did all that. So I'm super excited to dive into a little bit more. So again, guys, as I stated before, this month is breast cancer awareness month, so definitely want to use this opportunity to bring awareness and making sure we are doing what we need to do to help prevent the things that we can prevent, and know how to just be aware of such a important topic that I don't want any man or woman to oversee. So our first question for you today is, when should you start having your screening mammogram?
So the American College of Radiology and the Society of Breast Imaging, they recommend having your annual screening mammogram starting at age 40 for all women. If you do have a family history in a first degree relative, that could be a sister, a mother, or a daughter, you would start 10 years prior to when they were diagnosed. So for example, my mother was diagnosed at age 48. So I started my screenings at age 38. Otherwise, you would start at age 40 and you would go ahead and come every year annually. I know there's some organizations that recommend every other year, but I want to remind everyone that the doubling rate of cancer is 120 days. So if you wait 2 years, it could have quadrupled by the time you come back. So we recommend, it's covered by insurance, that you come every year annually starting at age 40, unless you're high risk or have a first degree relative that was much younger, then you would start 10 years prior. It does not have to be in October. The breast imagers of the world would prefer that you not come in October because it's super saturated in October, but you can come any month. My favorite month is May because it's in keeping with the letter M. So May, mammogram, Mother's Day, Cinco de Mayo, margaritas, anything that keeps you motivated or makes you remember May. I just say make it kind of like a ladies' day. You know, come get your mammograms together, go get pedicures, manicures, go have a ladies' lunch. Just make it kind of an annual thing so that you remember. You do not need a doctor's order to have a screening mammogram. You only need a doctor's order if there's something wrong, whether breast pain, discharge, a lump, you would need a doctor's order. But most breast care centers will allow you to go online and schedule your mammogram without having an order.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. All right, my second question for you is: what are the risk factors for breast cancer, and are there any risk factors that I can change individually?
So currently, 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer. So if you're in a room with 8 women, one will eventually have breast cancer in their lifetime. So that's usually a span up to 85 years. That's about 12% of the population. So that's equated to, for 2024, we expect about 300,000 women to be diagnosed with breast cancer. But 66% of those women will have cancers that are still localized to the breast and nowhere beyond the breast. And the reason I'm emphasizing that is because mammograms actually can catch cancers 2 years before you would ever feel it on a physical exam. So we find it very early, usually as calcifications in the breast, and that's seen on the mammogram. Overall, I want to remind everyone that we have 4 million survivors in the world. So this is not an end all be all. If you are diagnosed, we do very well with the treatments here. And so women do thrive. As I said, my mom's a 25-year survivor. And so getting your mammogram is definitely the first step. As far as the risk factors, the 2 top ones are 2 that you cannot change. And that's your gender at birth, which is female. Being female is a risk in itself. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't change that risk factor. The second one is age. Menopausal women tend to be higher risk. So the older you get, the more you become at risk. We can't stop aging. So that's another risk factor that you cannot change. The median age is about 62 years old. So half the women are diagnosed before 62 and half women are diagnosed after. About 1 in 8 women are actually under the age of 45. So it's not unheard of to be under 40 and have breast cancer. It's not as high, but it's still a potential. The other 2 things that you cannot change, the risk factors you cannot change, is your family history. A lot of people think, well, I don't have a family history, I don't have to get my mammogram. Well, family history and genetics only play about 15% into your risk. So 85% of women who are really diagnosed have no family history at all. It's just the environment and genetic mutations and things like that. So I just want to remind everyone that family history is high. It's not high. It's only 15%. It's 85% have no family history. The things that you can change are lifestyle, alcohol. A lot of people don't think, but alcohol, even a small amount, can increase your risk of breast cancer. If you have 1 drink per day, one drink every day, it raises your risk by 10%. If you have 2 to 3 drinks per day, that raises your risk by 20%. So alcohol is linked to a lot of different cancers, and so we do recommend that you keep your alcohol to a minimum. Secondly, weight. Added weight is a huge risk, because adipose tissue is the larger, or fat tissue is the largest endocrine organ on your body, and it produces estrogen. So the estrogen from the fat on the body can increase your risk of breast cancer. But interestingly enough, if you have always been overweight your entire life, that means premenopausal and postmenopausal, your risk is actually a little lower. It's usually when a woman has increased in weight after menopause. So postmenopausal weight gain is a huge risk as far as increase in estrogen and having an effect on cancer development. But I don't want anyone to say, oh, well, I've been big all my life, so I'm good. No, that's not what I'm saying. Because actually, even though your risk is lower if you've been large your entire life, the type of cancer you can develop is actually higher risk of death or mortality. So even though, let's just say you've been large all your life, if you do develop breast cancer, what happens is there's a high propensity for what's called triple negative cancers, and those are really hard to treat. So those are pretty much the risk factors that you can have some control over. Like I said, I mentioned the ones that you can't control, but these are the two: alcohol and weight are the two that you actually can control.
Okay, that's good to know. Or you can just get pregnant and you don't drink, and then
Yes.
that's one way to keep the alcohol out your system. I kind of actually want to backtrack a little bit. I know you were given the ages of when you would start to do your mammograms, and is there an age that's too early? Or, like, for me, for example, I'm 34 years old, but if I wanted to go get one, are they going to be like, oh, well, we will recommend you wait, or is there an age that's too young?
So we do not do mammograms in women who are under the age of 25. And then from 25 to 30, we typically would start with ultrasound first to see if there's any abnormality, and then backtrack to mammogram if there's a need. But and that's only if there's an actual issue or problem that arises. As far as screening, we would not typically start prior to 35 years old, but we do have some who are high risk who would start prior to that in their 30s. If you're not high risk, you can start at age 35, but I'll always caution people to give their insurance company a call, because they often will not cover the annual screening until age 40. And so between 35 and 40, you may be hit with sort of a large bill if your insurance company does not. Recently, there was some literature that was released that said African American women can actually start as early as 35. So that's an option as well, just because they are more likely to die from breast cancer. They don't have a higher risk of getting breast cancer, but they do have a higher rate of dying, or have a higher mortality from breast cancer. So 35 would be when you could start just on your own accord, rather than 40. But again, call your insurance company, make sure they're going to cover it, because you don't want to get hit with that bill.
Yeah, the medical bills, no joke. Kick my sand down. I really. All right. So I've heard of 3D imaging, but what is that exactly?
So let's start first with 2D imaging. 2D imaging is your traditional mammogram, where in the South we say MASH, but it's really compression. So we would compress the breast, and that helps spread out the breast tissue. And so if you were to take a loaf of bread and place an olive or a raisin in between those 12 slices of bread, and try to look through those 12 slices of bread, you would not be able to see that raisin or that olive. So that's your traditional 2D, just compressing the breast, looking for cancers. With 3D, we actually have the ability to take 15 low-dose images going all the way through. And let's say the cancer is between image 5 and 6, or bread slice 5 and 6. That olive or that raisin is going to pop out, and we're able to see it better, because now I'm actually going through multiple slices of the breast, whereas before we were compressing and trying to see through all of the breast tissue. So 2D and 3D work together. So now with 3D, I'm able to overcome the overlap of the dense breast tissue, which makes it easier for me to find cancers, especially in women who have dense breasts. And so that's really the difference. All commercial insurances cover it. They usually don't ask you if you want it. It's always included now as of 2014. So you typically don't have to ask unless you have some type of special insurance that may be through a private company, but all of the heavy hitters like United, Blue Cross Blue Shield, all of the major insurances cover it.
Okay, and you mentioned dense breasts a lot. What exactly does it mean to have dense breasts?
So dense breast tissue is an X-ray finding. It's a finding that's only seen by the radiologist, although you will find that a lot of clinicians will say that they can feel the dense breast tissue. That's different than what we're seeing on X-ray. So dense breast tissue just means that there are lobules and ducts that make it hard for us to see cancer. And so when you have your mammogram, you'll be coded as an A, B, C, or D. A is fatty, B is scattered, C is heterogeneous, and D is extremely dense where we can't see anything. And so with those 4 different categories, we typically recommend what we call supplemental imaging or an additional imaging to help see through the dense breast tissue. And everyone is required to receive a letter within 30 days of your mammogram, which will tell you whether or not you need to get extra imaging. And it'll say for you to either have an ultrasound or an MRI, and that helps to see through that dense breast tissue.
Okay, great. You answered the second question. I was going to ask if there are any additional exams, so that's what it is. Okay, cool. And I have one last question for you, but before we get into that last question, I do want to say thank you so much for just giving us this knowledge and educating us on these things. Because I mean, like I said, I'm 34 years old, but it's one of those things where it's like you hear about it, about the testing and how important it is when you're in school, and then it kind of goes away unless you take the time to educate yourself or having conversations like this. So definitely something that's on the radar because, like you said, I am a woman. I do have tatas, so I gotta make sure that those things are good and healthy. So this has been great information. But my last question, because I know sometimes people think that they cannot, but can men also get breast cancer?
Good question. I want to preface by saying that we all know someone who would be in the age range to need a mammogram. So just reminding those that you love, first of all, to get their mammograms, whether it's your mother, your aunt, your cousin, your sister. So everyone can do their due diligence and remind their loved ones to get their mammograms. But yes, men can get breast cancer. It's rare, but it's possible. So remember, I said women are typically diagnosed 1 in 8 women. So for men, it's 1 in 700 for comparison. So not as likely, but it's still possible. And then remember, I mentioned this year in 2024 alone, 300,000 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer. Well, only 2,700 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer. Men don't have, so there's 2 different types of breast cancer, one that comes from the ducts and one that comes from the lobules. When I think about ducts and lobules, I think about the tree branches on a tree and then the leaves being the lobules. So the ducts branch from the nipple back and they're like tree branches, and then the very end bears the leaves or the fruit or the flowers. Well, men don't have the lobules, so they don't have the capability of getting lobular cancer, but they can get ductal cancer. And so that's why their risk is a little bit lower as well due to that. And they also don't have the levels of estrogen, things like that. And so to answer your question, absolutely they can. And it's actually more prominent if they have a mother or a sister with breast cancer.
Okay, so you guys, you have received a lot of great information. Definitely make sure you save this live. It's something that you want to share with a friend about this knowledge. And like she said, definitely make sure you are doing your due diligence and making sure you're getting tested and getting checked and encouraging other people to also get tested and checked as well. But before we get out of here, go ahead and let the people know how they can stay in touch with you and all the great things.
Yeah, so I am in Georgia. So if you are in the Atlanta area, you're welcome to make the drive. Our waits are usually not as long as Metro Atlanta area, but I'm about an hour south of Atlanta Airport at Piedmont Columbus Regional Hospital. It's part of the Piedmont system, Piedmont healthcare system. We have about 23 hospitals all throughout Atlanta. So we're all linked. It's just a little bit of a further drive to get to me. My partner and I are board certified breast imagers. So we're fellowship trained. And So we have appointments. If you'd like to make an appointment and make the drive and you're in the Atlanta area, you can make an appointment at 706-571-1234, or you can go online to piedmont.org/mammo, and you can schedule your own mammogram and choose the Columbus Center if you'd like. But I would just be thankful if you go to any breast care center and definitely have the exam done. That's the most important thing, because early detection saves lives. Mammograms save lives. And so the more years, we don't have a cure for breast cancer, but the more years we can give back to you make a huge difference. And so we just want you to get in and have the exam done.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, and I appreciate your time. And again, guys, if you are interested in also being interviewed, just let me know in the comments. I would definitely love to reach out and explore different conversations so we can continue to build the knowledge that we know we need to live a healthier and successful lifestyle. So thank you again, and I appreciate you. Next time, God bless.